Hello, my name is Carlos, and I'm going to be reading a story off of Weird Texas by Wesley Treat, Heather Shade, and Rob Riggs. I'm going to be reading The Legend of La Llorona. El Paso is a dusty desert city along the Mexican border, is a town rich with folklore, possibly because of the very bloody history, which lends itself to all kinds of interesting tales. The story of La Llorona is one of our favorites. Part of sorrowful banshee, part angry spirit, part cursed creature, La Llorona is known to almost every Latin culture. The first story dates all the way back to 1550. The name literally translates to the crier, which is exactly what this spook is said to do eternally. There are different versions of the story depending on the region where it's told, but all of them center around a woman who murdered her two small children hundreds of years ago. This is the version they tell in El Paso. Long ago, there was a widow with two small children who lived in the poorest section of Juarez, Mexico, the town across the border from El Paso. Somehow she met a man who was rather wealthy and began a relationship with him. The problem was that the man did not want to marry her because of the two children. So the woman turned on her kids. She took them down to Rio Grande, the huge river that runs right through El Paso and Juarez and divides them and forms the American Mexican border. There, in the dead of the night, she was heartless, stabbed her children, and threw them into the river where they drowned. Still wearing her bloody nightgown, the woman slipped through the night to her lover's house to show him the length she'd gone to in order to be with him. When her wealthy lover saw her at the doorstep in blood-streaked white gown, from far from being impressed, he was horrified. He immediately rejected her. Suddenly, realizing what she had done, and all for nothing, she went mad. She ran back to the river, screaming and tearing at her hair, trying in vain to save her poor children, but it was too late. The story varies here, as some people say she stabbed and drowned herself in the same river. Others insist that she was caught by an angry mob of people, killed for her crimes, and thrown in the river. Either way, the result was the same. The woman died. That's when the creepiness began. Not long after her death, people who lived near this spot along the Rio Grande started to report hearing a horrible noise in the dead of the night. Then the sightings began. People described a grotesque apparition wandering the river banks of the night. Something in the body of a woman, but the head of a horse. The creature was said to be wearing a long white bloody nightgown as it glided up and down to the river, searching for the water and wailing. It was undoubtedly the spirit of the woman, cursed to wander the banks of the Rio Grande for all eternity, in her blood-stained nightgown, looking for her dead children as punishment for her unspeakable sins. She was given the head of a horse. Locals are warned against going near the river alone at night, and are told that if La Llorona finds you there, she will take possession of you and force you to keep her company in her awful vigil by the water. To this day, whenever someone is found drowned in the Rio Grande, which happens constantly, people whisper La Llorona is still lonely and looking for company. And that was the legend of La Llorona.